Welcome back to our edition of Women at Work. We will look into women-owned businesses here in the United States. They are growing faster in numbers as employers more than their male-owned counterparts. Since 1997, that number of female-owned businesses rose 74%. That is 1.5 times the national average. There are nearly 9.5 million women-owned businesses in the U.S. That's 30% of all enterprises. But the nearly 8 million people they employ are only 6% of the national workforce, and about $1.5 trillion in revenues they generate. Now, that's just under 4% of all business earnings in the country. That is the same share they contributed nearly 15 years ago. African American women in particular are taking the lead. They are the fastest growing group of entrepreneurs in the U.S. For more on this, I sat down with Lisa Matz. She is the Vice President of Government Relations at the American Association of University Women. And I asked her why more and more women are stepping out on their own.
Well, I actually think it makes a lot of sense. And part of the reason for that is because, unfortunately, we still have both racial and sexist discrimination in the workplace. And it's not at all unusual for women entrepreneurs, especially women of color, to want to open their own business because they're tired of dealing with that at the workplace. I think very much they also think they can do it better, that they're going to pay fairly, play fairly, they're going to have good benefits, and they feel like they're just going to get a better shake. So a lot of them leave for that reason. Yes, they want to make money and be an entrepreneur, but they also want to make sure that they're getting a fair shake and that other people get a fair shake, their employees as well.
So this is based on entrepreneurship, and I want to just say something, that being an entrepreneur also means you're probably the boss as well if you're creating the organization. And the question that has always been asked is, do women make better bosses? And I've heard arguments for both, but much stronger for the for section of it. And I have to be careful because most of my bosses throughout my career have always been women. But I'm wondering, from your perspective, what do women offer that role as boss, / mentor, / enforcer? I mean, there's so many roles when you're the boss. How do they make that sort of unique and special to them?
Well, I do think women bring a unique voice to the workplace and a unique voice to any kind of decision-making that's going on. I'm not sure they're better or worse bosses. They're different bosses. And I think that's really important. One of the things that we know is that more diverse workplaces, more diverse boards of directors, those companies literally make more money. They're more innovative. They literally are more competitive. So it's not just a nice thing to do. It's the smart thing to do to have a diverse workplace.
We talk about the a number of women-owned businesses, and that has absolutely skyrocketed over the past year or two, up nearly 74%. And I don't know if that has anything to do with sort of the economy. I don't know if it had something to do with the recent crisis we were in and how we came out of it. I've spoken to a lot of women, and a lot of them have children and families, and they say, hey, I wish there was something I could do where I could be innovative and entrepreneurial, but at the same time take care of, my family at home. And there's a lot of compromises to be made, and I'm wondering if that's helping push more and more women to think outside the box and ultimately create their own businesses.
No, I think that's true. I think that the flexibility that you can create for yourself if you're an entrepreneur is very attractive to everybody, not just women. But I also think that the private sector is starting to realize they need to catch up because they're losing really smart women, especially women of color, who don't want to work for them anymore because they don't have good paid family leave policies. They don't have good paternal leave policies. And so they figure, if I can do it better myself, I'm going to do that. So they're, in some respects, in the private sector, these bigger corporations are starting to catch up, both in terms of fair pay as well as family-friendly policies.
I was shocked to learn this the other day, that in America, the maternity leave is basically not really required.
That's right.
And it's essentially non-existent, and we rank near the bottom of the barrel when it comes to comparisons to the global communities. Why isn't more done about it? And this is not the first time you've talked about it with, I'm sure, somebody in the media. Why hasn't more been done about it? What's stopping progress on this?
Well, we've ranked near the bottom, not just in terms of parental leave, but in paid sick days, in paid family leave, and all of those family-friendly policies. Why hasn't more been done? Well, there has been some progress that's been made. We have the Family Medical Leave Act at the federal level. You can get 12 weeks of protected leave and have your job waiting for you when you come back. The problem is it's not paid. So the vast majority of folks can't afford to take it. We, believe it or not, in this country have about half the workplace that does not have a single paid sick day. In other words, they literally cannot get paid
It's
if
unbelievable.
they have to call in sick. What do you do if you've got a sick kid? What do you do if you're sick yourself? It's not, quite frankly, just a fairness issue. It's an economic justice issue. It's a health issue.
I'm just curious, and this is purely for the benefit of our viewers, are there specific, not companies, but industries that are more friendly towards women when it comes to benefits?
Oh, that's
You mentioned a couple in technology world.
Yeah, that's a really good question. You know, it's interesting because a lot of women gravitate towards what we call pink-collar jobs, jobs that tend to be mostly held by women, like nursing, like teaching. The irony of that, though, is that if you're a teacher or nurse, you've got to be there, right? Versus if
you can't work from home.
You can't work from home. And so those fields, although they're traditionally female, don't necessarily have the same flexibility. We're seeing a lot more in terms of higher education, academics. We're seeing some good family-friendly kinds of things in the STEM workplaces because they are desperate, not just for women, but people of color.
There must be a lot of people in that situation where they're faced with that dilemma. They're somewhat even afraid to address the issue with their boss because they don't want there to be judgment, obviously.
Yeah, you shouldn't have to choose between your family and your job. And I think that that's happening more and more, not just to women, but to men too, because men are just as concerned oftentimes about their kids and spending time with kids. And with more women in the workplace, they've got to be better partners in terms of sharing the work.